Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Florio, and tonight I'm here with Sandra Ferreira. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you on, Sandra, tonight. I mean, we've known each other for a little while, and just let me tell you, I've clicked the button and I went live, and I went like, so I wasn't expecting to go on live, just bang on, but here you are. Sometimes that's what happens with technology. But let me come back to you. So Sandra, you are a parapsychologist, spiritual minister, medium, a spiritual healer, a lecturer, and a public speaker for TedX Harvard. You've done it at you've been a public speaker at Harvard University, various TVs and radio. I have known you for a little while, and I knew some, but I didn't know all of it, and that is mind-blowing. So the first question I want to ask you is this. You describe yourself as a scientist, but then you are a full-blown spiritualist, you're a medium. How the two got together? Because sometimes you got one and not the other, although we have examples in history when that is not quite the case. But how these two merged so well in your life?
First of all, thank you so much, Daniela, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I also admire a lot your work, your enlightened spirit, and a wonderful professional and spiritualist and medium and all the above. So it's a wonderful question, and it's very educative for the public, because nowadays, especially with spiritualism, science and religion are not conflicting at all, right? That's the beauty of spiritualism. It started in a scientific note, right? With a lot of experiments being done because of the manifestation of spirits back in the 1800s. So obviously we are talking about modern spiritualism, but this whole phenomenon of mediumship and everything is really ancient. We see a lot of those events, phenomenons in the Bible and even the Old Testament. The prophets, they were mediums. They communicated with angels. They communicated with spirits. They received message from their guides. So it's the same process. So in terms of combining the spiritual part, the spiritualism or spirituality with science, for me is absolutely no conflict. So I grew up in a Baptist church, in a very Christian traditional church family. And so the spirituality was always part of my life. And most of my siblings, at some point, they kind of left the church and stuff. But I have always been extremely connected with the spiritual part. I left the Baptist church after a while because I started to question some of the doctrines, but I never departed myself from God and from the search of from my soul about the meaning of life and the connection that we have as a human being with the spiritual world. And I have always been an inquisitive mind. I always loved to study, and it's like there was like some funny stories about me. Like when I was 4 years old, I used to get some notebooks, like random notebooks in my house, and run away to my dad's office, which was like a couple of houses down the street, saying that I was going to school. So that's, I grew up with this thirst for knowledge and this passion for studying. I have 5 college degrees. So if I could, I would be studying to this day. So officially, like I keep studying by myself, but I'm not enrolled in a university or anything like that anymore. But so that is me, right? So that's who I am. I love both things. I think a part of the development of human soul, it needs to combine those two sides. Whatever you as a human or as an individual decide to develop or to embrace those aspects of yourself, but it's part of the spiritual development to develop our intellectual aspect as well. So spirituality without thinking, without critical thinking, is just fanatism, right? It doesn't help. It's like we become easily manipulated. It just becomes like easily like something that's not healthy for people or groups. So, and that's my belief, and that's how that developed. That's why spiritualism makes perfect sense for me, because it doesn't deprive me from critical thinking, from embracing my scientific self.
And how is music playing a role with the spiritualism then? Let's take it from another angle.
Well, that's another really interesting question. There was a movie that was done based on a book written by Chico Xavier. So the original title was No Solar, and the translation of the book and the movie is like Astro City. So the movie and the book is available on Amazon and some other online platforms. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful, kind of very illustrative book about, was psychographic, so it was like direct writing from the spirit of André Luiz, who was a doctor, a physician who lived in the 1950s. And the book is him telling his experience in this place, which he called our home.
Right.
And it was pretty much a place where his soul and some other souls were receiving treatment for his development. So because he was a very spiritual person in his essence, but when he was here, he developed himself intellectually and stuff, but he departed himself from God. So that's why he was in this colony that was called our home, being helped and to connect with himself. And in this movie, there's parts of it that the people are gathering around the lake, and there are musicians playing, and their mission in their recovery is through their music. So it's fascinating how validating it is, this experience coming from the spiritual world to the experiences we have here, how music is healing, and how music is also a divine language, right? That unites us all, that break barriers, that dissolves conflicts and all that. So my passion for music also started in childhood, and I could not depart myself from that. So I also have college degrees in piano performance and music and opera singing. So I have this passion for both because they are complementary, right? So both for spiritualism, for our spiritual development, and also to psychology is extremely healing. And is a wonderful language with infinite possibilities. So I use music both for my spiritual practices, for myself, for people that look for me, for meditation, for my mediumship students, and also for my practice in psychology. So
Yeah.
It's just part of this big package.
Package, absolutely. And this is where I wanted to get to your work in mental health. And as a public speaker, are the two connected, or somehow are you, because I know that you do inspirational speaking, right? So how do you find your service helping others while when you do the public speaking, for instance? Is this like, do you feel inspired through spirit as well? And if that is the case, what is your purpose through spirit? If you have figured it out, or you're just part of an overall picture for God, you know?
Mhm.
The
Yes, absolutely. They are always interconnected to some extent, although I don't officially mix when I'm my practice as a psychologist, I don't do mediumship readings, or
No,
I
of
don't
course
do
not. No,
anything
understand.
spiritual, because I don't want to, first of all, it's unethical, and also I don't want to impose anything on my patients. If they are atheists, if they have other religions, my role is to help them as a professional. But as we know, as intuitives and mediums, we are always receiving messages from our guides and spirits, and even our loved ones or their loved ones. And even without mentioning, is usually very, intricate. So those experiences, sometimes, a patient comes and they're what they are describing and about their problems is one thing, and what I feel about them, about their history, about everything, the soul journey that we can do, is a completely different story. And little by little, with a lot of respect and compassion, we can get to the core of it, without insulting anyone, of course, but helping them with what they really need, because this people sometimes, and even us, right? Like we can lie to ourselves, saying that, oh, I don't have this problem, or my problem is something else, and we miss the opportunity to really heal ourselves, right? To really go to the core of it.
That's so true. Do you find in your experience that people truly understand the importance of self-healing?
Yeah, not everyone does. I think most people don't.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful thing that you're bringing up, because we have immense possibilities, right? To either destroy ourselves or to heal ourselves. And that's what I try to encourage people to do.
Of course. You see, the purpose of my School for Conscious Evolution is exactly around this, to raise the awareness, of how important self-healing is. As well as being myself a medium, I understand that the way we are heading, it's the becoming conscious that self-healing is as important as healing others, if not even more important. Because what happens is that at this present moment in time, like as a psychologist, for instance, you are one part of the equation, because you are helping people to understand themselves. Pretty surely I understand that you will be trying to help them to help themselves, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from the spiritual point of view, I think that sometimes depression is as I understand it, is that true, actually? I'm just going to turn this around and ask you the question. Is depression a form of lack of connection to our soul? Or there is more to it? I mean, I'm talking about not knowing anything about psychology.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things in depression, and there's a lot of types of depression, different types, and there's like depression that's induced by other diseases, by brain tumors, or other kinds of cancer, or even like substance abuse, lack of nutrition, right? Lack of sleep, and hormones in women. So many things that influence depression, that triggers depression. But definitely in everything, I would not say that is definitely only a lack of connection with self, but it can lead to that, or can be a consequence of that in some cases. Yes.
I understand, though, what you're saying, that there is a physical aspect to that, like hormones or these terrible diseases and all of that. And thank you for that, because obviously sometimes when people like me live a lot in the spiritual side of things as well, we kind of tend to not ground the fact that we are still 3D bodies and we need to function around that too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I get that. So how did you become a licentiate spiritualist minister? After all of these beautiful things.
You have wonderful questions, even without knowing me. You're getting to the core points of my life. That's interesting. So to tell you the truth, I didn't really plan to be a spiritualist minister. I was always curious about mediumship or spiritualism and all that. But when I decided to study, my intention was to become how is it called? I forgot the name now. Licensed medium, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I'm sorry?
No, I was saying yes. It was the licentiate, spiritual.
Yes, a certified medium. That was my goal. So in Pratts Institute, which is where I studied, there was like two options. One to be like one course to be a healer, and the other one to be a certified medium.
Right.
So and healer. So then I have chosen the one that was more complete. At the end of the course, so when I did was several years. So I did all the courses, I did the exams and stuff. At the end of the course, I received the certificate and the communication first, and then certificate that I was also a spiritualist, a licensed minister, which was included in a package, and I didn't know. So
obviously, Spirit had a plan for you, and you weren't even aware of that.
I know. Was definitely a plan from above, because I have never chosen that, but here I am. I'm glad to be a minister and helping people and stuff. So
I understand that on the back of this, you actually have you been running workshops? I understand you run workshops, mediumship. Do you do circles? What is it that you practice?
Yes, I have some groups of mediumship literature and also mediumship circles. I have some international students that join us online via Zoom. That's the beauty of international meetings, right?
Don't we love this? Look, you and I from the other side of the world.
We'd never have met, probably, right? You're London, and I am in California. That's so nice and beautiful.
Unbelievable, isn't it? That's gorgeous.
I know.
Spirit has come up with, and technology, how it developed suddenly within a couple of years, isn't it? Where everything ended up here.
Absolutely.
And I'm feeling so grateful. I mean, on the back of a terrible thing, but something really beautiful is also born out of this, which is expanding the human connection and collaboration between people of different categories, in our case, spiritualism, you know, and this is the most amazing thing, right? So when you say, you mentioned you run literature, mediumship on literature. What is that about? What does it mean?
Yeah. So there's wonderful books out there, all the way from the 1800s,
Right.
that are available to everyone, and they are really enriching to the practice of mediumship.
Right.
I started this group because, first of all, I'm from Brazil, right? And in Brazilian spiritualism, there is a big emphasis on studying, on reading the books and understanding the basics of spiritism, what they say, like in Kardasism, right? So
Right.
people study and the books, and when they are really knowledgeable about everything that was taught, and then they start practicing spiritual healing and mediumship, and the development is together, is combined with the practice and the study. So I do believe in that. I think that it's not in a sense that those books are being followed blindly, like Christians follow the Bible without thinking, without reflecting. No, but they contain very enriching knowledge from spirits. There's a lot of books that has been written directly from spirits, with information from them, from their perspective, and that is really helpful for us to understand. So, and those are the books I read with my students during the sessions, and then we discuss at the end. And there's books from so many authors, but the ones that are basic, I really like the books from Allan Kardec, even though I am graduated and have a degree here in America. But I really like the books from Allan Kardec because they are the beginning of the studies of mediumship. They have a lot of science, and they have a lot of experiments and the conclusions that were drawn from those experiences, and it's really enlightening, and talks about, and for example, the Book of Spirits by Allan Kardec, which is his first book published, is like composed by over 1,000 questions and answers from the scientists to the spirits, about everything in life, about life and death, about sex, about family relationships, about food, about everything you can imagine.
I have here Phil Shaw, that I welcome dearly. He is a wonderful medium himself. He practiced trance as well, mediumship. And he's asking, Sandra, are you referring to spiritist philosophy? And he also asks that he has Kardec's The Book of Mediums.
Mm-hmm. Yes, wonderful. Yes, exactly. As I mentioned, that yes, spiritists. There is a couple of differences between spiritualism and spiritism, but there's a lot of congruences. So the basics are the same.
Right. And can you explain a little bit more, since this is a school of evolution, we want to know a bit more about this. Is there any way you could explain roughly the differences between the two?
Sure. So the spiritism started in France in the 1800s with those studies from Allan Kardec and his group. And is very well spread in South America and in Europe. And the basic difference between spiritism and spiritualism is that spiritism is 100% based on Jesus and in Jesus' teachings.
Okay, this is spiritism.
Spiritism. So, and what they say is that is like somehow evolution of Christianism, because when the Bible was written at that time, Jesus' time, or even in Old Testament time before Christ, humanity was different than we are now. We have acquired a better ability to understand more abstract things. And that is reflected on science, that's reflected on our art, and that's reflected on everything. But a lot of things, all the basics of Spiritism and Spiritualism are in the Bible. They are not confused. Yes.
This is blowing my mind. Thank you. Hi, Neil. Thank you for joining us. And Claire as well. That's like people start joining us little by little. So, absolutely. Wow. Okay. That's Phil is saying Spiritism is more aligned to traditional Christianity. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. But it's not the close-minded Christianity that we have nowadays. Is more aligned into the roots of Christianity, with what Jesus has taught us, which is love above everything, loving our neighbors, loving ourselves, loving our God, right? Love was the core of the teachings of Jesus. He came to break all those traditions, all those the Jewish strict traditions that was like based on the law and judgment of each other and all that. And all of a sudden Christianity became those same things, right?
Yes.
Judging and condemning each other and trying to you are going to heaven, you're not going to heaven. When Jesus said, follow me, I am the truth, and no one goes to God without me, is without his teachings, which is love, right? And putting man above the law, about traditions, about stereotypes. Jesus was like the most active socialist of all the times. He was talking with women. At that time, women was not considered a person. They were considered objects and possession of men. They are not considered citizens. He talked with kids, and he said, nobody goes to the heaven of God if you are not like a child, which means pure spirit, right? Like without all those preconceptions, without all those bias, without all those prejudices that we have.
Absolutely, which is man-made, which is religion, right?
Exactly.
Religion with rules and regulations, do that, don't do that. And this is why there is I can sense from various communities almost a split in the spiritualist community where, for instance, in the UK, we have the SNU where, they are like a religion, but, they don't want to bring God in, they don't recognize really the angels. But then, some of them do use it. And then here we come, like the indigo children that we are spearheading into the preconceived, man-made. I'd like to see more spiritist philosophy discussed in our spiritualist churches, says Phil. I totally agree with that, actually. I really totally agree. And for me, the main reason that I'm here and I'm doing this weekly program, this live chat show, is to bring the light of Christ consciousness back in, because to me, that is not religion, that is pure spirit, it's pure love, which is talking straight and directly, trying to expand our higher chakra, which is actually the Thanos chakra, which is the seat of our soul. And so this is bringing us back to the work you do as well with your clients, you know, and with music. So the expansion of the heart center, of the compassion, of the self-love, which is one of the most important things, the things that it's been brought back to our attention, right?
Absolutely.
And we need to develop that. And I absolutely feel that at present, you know, what you're saying about the difference between spiritism and spiritualism is suddenly clicks, and it all makes sense. I don't know if you know about the SNS, which was the group that was following Jesus. Okay, and I'm not talking about religion, but I'm just talking about the teachings, because the SNS were the group following Jesus followers that were applying these spiritual teachings that you were talking about. So it all comes back, you know, some of the followers, and one of the main disciples was actually Mary Magdalene, who is the essence of compassion. Okay, together with Holy Mary, that is. But Mary Magdalene had, and as you said, he was talking to women, right? And this is why the perception of the Roman Catholic Church saying, you know, Mary Magdalene was a bad woman, because in those days, women were, you know, men were not allowed to talk to women. So she was the bad one. Okay,
Yes.
so it all kind of clicking all in place now, and it all makes sense, you know, why. And you know, as a medium and a channeler, you know, I have had messages through from Anna, who was Jesus' grandmother, and she was also involved in that. And not a lot of people know that Jesus actually wasn't that rock star that people want to make through, you know, if I want to call it in a modern fashioned way, you know, he actually wasn't really very well known at all. He was like, you know, in Islamism, he was yet again just another disciple. You know, he wasn't the figure that he has taken on for the Roman Catholic, you know, Catholics. So I know that we kind of gone down a different way, but I just wanted to, you know, just bring us back to connection to spirit, and how coming from this massive, wonderful knowledge that you have, you know, from clearly you have a lot of culture and a lot of knowledge, and sound knowledge of what you do, which I absolutely adore, because a lot of people talk a lot, but without much knowledge behind. And even so, you know, it's wonderful to have you on here, because you know, we can have like a perspective. You see a lot of spiritualists, particularly from the SNU, they just, you know, like talk a lot about science behind, you know, spiritualism. And you actually brought in a lot of elements to that, which are really, I feel like, very intriguing. What I wanted to ask you about is, you know, about your mediumship. And how, so given all of the knowledge you have, how do you see our connection to spirit evolve? Because at the moment, say for instance here in the UK, in the UK, there is a lot of input and stress put, which is, I agree with that, which is very important, is to give evidence of the life beyond, okay, beyond the veil, okay? So we are a soul carried it's a soul dressed up with a body, let's say that. We are not a body with a soul, right? Yes. So we are soul incarnate, okay, to actually have a 3D experience in the density of the energy. Okay, so my question is, how do you see the evolution of our soul through your experience and through channeling with your guides and your circle, and you're reading the literature from spiritualists and spiritism? What is how can you bring to the table your thought? What are your thoughts about this on the evolution?
I think it's a very important aspect for us to think, because yes, evolution is our goal as a spirits. We are incarnated to grow, right? All the incarnations we go to, either in this planet or other planets, the purpose is to grow, because that's how created the world. So that's one of the aspects of the science now being conflicted with the spiritualism, which is the evolution. So the same thing that we see in biology, that the species evolved over time, we also follow the same rule, because the laws of God do not change. It's not conflicting in a secular world or in a church. There's no separation. So the same law of evolution applies to every aspect of ourselves, including our spiritual aspect. And I see, honestly, that all those things that are happening nowadays universally in our world is part of our evolution. The spreading of spiritualism is part of our evolution. Humanity being able to grasp that we are spirits, like you said, our essence is the spirit, and as such, we can communicate with the spiritual world is a natural thing. So being a medium is not like a witch, it's not like a superpower, it's not everyone can be a medium, right? It's all about developing our skills to connect with God and connect with spirits and with your guides. So it's a natural part of ourselves as humanity. And not by chance, not by coincidence, we see all these commotions around the world with awareness coming up about discrimination, racism, rights of LGBTQ communities, women's rights, families and domestic violence, and all this awareness and all those changes that are being brought up, that has always been a problem in humanity and was like somehow under the rug, and now is being brought to the surface to our awareness so we can solve it for once, because this is part of our evolution. Just saying things and not meaning doesn't mean anything. Having laws and not following and not putting in practice doesn't mean anything. So evolution is part of that. It's part of being truthful. And because spirits never lie. Like, you can lie as a person, you can say something and mean something else. But as a medium, we see that the communication is mind to mind, right?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And the minds don't lie, like you cannot lie, right? And so that's what we are heading as humanity, to really be truthful and get rid of all those fake, progress that we have made in the past, which was valid to have laws and all those things, but let's be real, right? Let's really respect each other and love each other, and validate our differences and our diversity in all the aspects of ourselves, because that's how we are. And the diversity, men and women, straight and gay and bi and transgender or whatever, different cultures, different classes, and all that. All this diversity is what makes us rich.
Right. That's so absolutely true. Absolutely true. And, the whole universe is made of differences, and they do integrate. Again, it's a bit like a religion, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all man-made. All those discrimination is like man-made, right?
Absolutely.
It's like about control. It's about, I'm better than you. So it could be
Yeah.
anything else. It's not like a gender only thing. It's like so many things that are being, say, for instance, European countries such as Italy, for instance. I was listening the other day to some documentary, and apparently women, they are still not given the opportunity to work nowhere near 50% as much as men, which is disgraceful,
Yeah.
because women are meant to stay at home, bring up the children. And then if they're off because the children are sick or they're pregnant, so they better stay home. I'm going to hire a man instead, and
Yeah.
and this is not nice at all. And then, as you say, it's diversity, it's across the board, right? So how do you think, have you been perceiving a different type of vibration from spirits coming through with messages?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you take us through that?
My connections with guides have changed over time. I have seen other colleagues and medium friends also receiving messages from different kinds of guides and more women. I'm also have been having a lot of very close conversations and connections with Holy Mary. And I have never been brought up to have connection with her because like I said, I grew up in a Baptist church and they don't believe in anything but Jesus. Like they think that this is, saints, idolatry. And so they have a different perspective.
Yes.
And so more women, inspire, enlightened women coming through. And it's so beautiful, and bringing the power and the knowledge and the healing that we need as humanity. That's so fantastic. And
fantastic. Thank you.
Yes.
This is what I've been saying all along. So having your confirmation as well, it's amazing. It's amazing, absolutely, because it's more to do with the feminine side of the compassion, of the self-love, of the acceptance of the others. It's not about only accepting ourselves as we are unconditionally. So it's not just the society perceiving and tagging the diversity, like the gay population and the women that cannot work and so on and so forth. It's to do with first and mostly accepting ourselves the way
absolutely.
No matter what we are perceived from the society.
Yes.
The moment where we start accepting ourselves, that's when we can become strong and just have this evolution happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Unconditional love is universal love. Is the only type of love that God has for us. And the only place we see this in earth is the love from mothers to their kids. Is the unconditional love. A normal mother for sure, right? Like we have mothers and mothers, but
yeah, no, absolutely.
But a normal mother is able to give unconditional love for their kids, which is the closest that we have from the love of God. So we need women in power. And it's not like a feminist kind of speech or a rhetoric. It's like that the diversity that we need, that women can bring, is healing and is necessary for humanity. As well as everything else, all the different cultures, different races, and different religions. Because that's the other thing about spiritualism. Spiritualism is not an exclusive religion, like when you need to convert and abandon your religion. No, it's about a lifestyle. You can continue to become Jewish. You can continue to become Muslim. You can continue to become Buddhist or Christian, whatever you feel like, and be a spiritualist, because we respect everyone and we include everyone, because diversity is the key. spirituality is an individual and subjective experience, and there's no set of politics or rules, religious rules, that's going to ever determine something that everybody can fit in.
Yeah, exactly. And Phil was mentioning religion, a convenient tool for the hierarchy of the church. I made it to control the people, which is why most of them are anti-spiritualism. Spiritism radically goes against the grain.
Yeah, absolutely. And why we are so like rejected now is becoming less and less, but because we bring power for the people.
Yes. And, you know, when we talk about bringing forward the light, and, you know, when you hear on the chats, on the media of people talking about the light and the fight against the darkness, I mean, this is what we're talking essentially about like a bunch of us, not many, but still powerful because we carry the light and we don't mind shining it, okay?
Yeah.
We are not afraid of it because we have faith. And because we know from the spirit world what really needs to be happening against the people that are still sticking in that conventional pragmatism, you know, of having to set things into the four walls. So, I mean, Nietzsche comes to mind when he was being crazy, when he was, you know, talking about, you know, religion from a different perspective because it was not conforming, okay, into the society. So we're talking about the 1800 perhaps there, but if you think about it, perhaps we haven't come that long way. I mean, we have.
In that regard, yes.
But we have evolved, but, you know, in a certain way, because there is so much still to be done. And we are just at the beginning of the Aquarian age, right? Because we are just starting warming up the engines. And, you know, there are people out there, I know, you know, that are trying to create, you know, their own little circles. Like I know that Neil, for instance, he runs his own circle, and he's a spiritualist, and we figured out that actually we're talking the same language when it comes to a new type of mediumship, where it's to do with spirit coming and teaching again to us. You know, we had the like of Edward Case, for instance, being a fantastic medium all-rounder, right? And yet he, you know, he didn't care. If I was reading his book, and he really didn't care, you know, about what others were thinking. He just carried on, plowed through, just by giving the most amazing evidence, right? And yet people were like, do I believe in that or not? And the truth is, it's not us. It's not me against you. It's like my spirit devolving, you know, information. Okay. And so, so Phil is also adding also why Jung was unpopular in certain circles. Carl Jung.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Everything that questions the status quo is unwelcome until people evolve and becomes baseline. So it happens with art, it happens with science. Like the first scientists that said the earth was round, it was a globe, they were killed. Right? Because
I mean, there's nothing to laugh about, by the way.
Yeah, but it's funny for us to think about this now, right? But that's what's happening today with certain other things, right? Absolutely. And people are questioning this whole reality of communicating with the spiritual world, with soul's evolution, spiritual evolution, with the necessity of us to evolve our moral standards, because that's part of our evolution.
Yes.
And embracing differences and all that. So people are being persecuted and laughed off because of the lack of understanding. But again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we are being true to God and to the guides that He gave to us to inspire us, to lead us, and to share their truth is what matters. And we need to just keep going.
No, absolutely. Now, thank you, Phil. He's really, truly enjoying excellent discussion. Thank you for that and for your support, for being here. And Sandra, I am totally, truly blown away by this conversation, just to cite what Phil is saying. And I would love to have you around again, maybe sometime in the autumn, if you're up for it, because there is. I think we've only touched, the top, the tip of the iceberg. Of the iceberg, right? If you were, and I know, I haven't really told you, what my intention was, but also, I'm guided by spirit. But if we were to take a moment and take a breather, what do you think after the discussion we've had tonight? Because I'm aware that you need to go in 10 minutes, because at your end, it's still work time, it's daytime, it's lunchtime. So thank you so much for taking an hour of your lunchtime to give to us and have this beautiful discussion. What do you think if spirit and your guides were able to talk? What do you think the message would be to us today? You don't have to channel, you don't necessarily need to channel, but anything that has been coming true of interest that we should know.
Yes, what I have been receiving constantly is the need of for us to connect with God, for us to understand our necessity to respect each other, to accept each other, to evolve morally, to mean what we say, to really embrace the changes that our society needs worldwide in terms of humans' rights, in terms of respecting each other, because that's basically what we need to heal all the problems we have in the world. If we think about hunger, war, violence, problems with gangs or drugs, and all those problems we have is a consequence of selfishness. If people think about themselves in relation to each other as a continuous, because we are a continuation of each other, we are part of a big indivisible wholeness, which is called the universe. And if we understand that and live according to that, all those problems disappear, because we are not going to be stealing from each other. We are not going to deprive our neighbors from the rights of food and shelter and happiness and everything. We are going to be taking care of each other. We are going to not impose violence against each other. We are not going to take advantage of each other. All those problems we have with power and violence and everything, discrimination and racism, is a consequence of selfishness. It's like, I am better than you. I want more advantages than you. Therefore, I want all those rules, all those the philosophy, because it's advantageous to me. This is selfishness. So that's what we need to break from, because what we are doing is, and that's what science is so beautiful to teach us. Does people know what cancer is? Cancer is exactly that. One single cell all of a sudden decides to fight the other cells around them and work against the other cells. That is the core of cancer. And that's what we do as humanity when we are living in a selfish way. if those cells that we have in our bodies, when those cells work accordingly to their roles, understanding that they are part of the same body, and they need to work harmoniously with each other, otherwise they are all gonna die, everything goes well. We have health. We are only going to have health in our planet, in our society, in our lives, happiness, when we live with this truth, which is the truth of the universe. It's not my truth, it's not my belief, is the truth of the universe, that we are all interconnected in an indivisible wholeness. So when we understand that and live in harmony with each other, respecting each other, and understanding that if I hurt my neighbor, I'm hurting myself, that's how we are going to evolve as humanity.
Well, thank you. That is absolutely amazing. And the truth of the message is that we are one consciousness.
Yes.
And, you know, I get Jennifer joining us. Hi, Jennifer. Good evening. Many discussions like today that I have heard lately, the group I was part of 30 years ago were saying what is being said now. It feels very strange to hear this again at this time.
Wonderful.
I feel that perhaps just a very small minority has known the truth, because clearly connecting to spirit. But now I feel that the energies that are developing in our planet are actually preparing the ground for the truth to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
And the consciousness, and perhaps, dare I say, because of internet and the fact that we can all talk to each other in a much more immediate way, we are figuring out that it's not just me, it's you, it's Jennifer, it's Phil, it's Neil, it's everybody else, that we are coming together now and saying, hold on a second, hey Debbie, welcome. Hold on a second, actually, we do have the power, we do have the voice, and what's going on? It's not on. Mm-hmm. All of this egoism, yeah. All of this me, I'm better, I'm richer, I'm this, I'm that, yeah. That it's something that we want to fight and put light on it and shine, because this is what we are doing, putting a light on the darkness, putting the light on the situations in life, like politics, for instance, corruption, war, fights, famine, abuse, women being empowered to come forward and say, enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Or, with the so many other minorities of any sort and type. So what I wanted to say is what a privilege and an honor to have had you, Sandra. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away. Thank you for being here with us. To have been here with us tonight. It's been an absolute, and sometimes I tell myself, I'm going to ask my guests to give some messages here and there, but I feel that when we have conversations like this, okay, readings are available on other channels as well, and we are all practicing mediums, but I feel that we need to bring forward, the knowledge, the understanding, okay, and the awareness, above all, that things don't need to be done in the old way. There are new paradigms that are being brought forward. Mm-hmm. And we are at the forefront of this movement. And I wanted to say thank you so much. You're doing a most amazing job.
Thank you so much.
And service, not only for having been here tonight, but for everything else that you do for many people out there that clearly do need your help. And we are having Neil saying, and out, thank you, Daniela Florio, for bringing this together and out for everyone to see and hear and come together to grow and be reached. Absolutely, and very well said. Thank you ever so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Sandra. And
Thank you so much, Danielle. It was a great pleasure to be here with you, and you have a wonderful mission, bringing these discussions and in everything you do as well. We are together here, and we are together with all the audience that are connected today, and whoever else is out there in the world doing the work of God, spreading the consciousness and spreading our awareness in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone again for joining us this week. And next week, we have a new guest who will be Fiona Dodd with Healing Through Music. And she's also someone that has worked on trauma. So we will be talking about that as well. Again, Sandra, thank you very much, and everybody else for joining us. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.